welcome to the virtual CMO. I've got my other podcast, which is called the Virtual CMO, so I'm so used to that introduction. I blew it already. Welcome to work. How are you?
I'm doing great, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing great too. Thanks so much for being on the show today. I really do appreciate it. So, this show is all about work, life, and finding balance between the two. And so I always like to start out, give our audience a little bit of an introduction to who you are. And so to do that today, without going through your whole resume, because I know that can get to be a bit much with people. Tell me sort of 3 significant points along your career journey, 3 memorable sort of stepping stones as you've sort of, found your way in the working world.
Awesome. So in the beginning, I was in the fashion industry and I found that was not for me.
Okay.
I was like, I want more. I need something more heart-centered. So then I went to culinary school and became a chef. So I was a catering company owner and a private chef. I was Stevie Wonder's private chef and Bruce Willis's private chef. And then after that, I went into corporate and I was working as a vendor partner for Google. Then I was head of marketing for North America for a large corporate facilities and food service company. And now I own my own business called Flourish Marketing, where I get to kind of use all of that. I work with people in the wedding, catering, and event space, but I also work with creative entrepreneurs, women-owned businesses, solo entrepreneurs, those people that are doing some of that heart-centered, creative, fun, loving work that I like to do.
So it sounds like, certainly you're a good cook if you've been a chef and you've worked for some of these great people. So moving from being somebody who's preparing food to somebody who's in marketing, I mean, that's a pretty drastic shift in terms of the kind of work that you do. What sort of really led you in that direction?
Well, it kind of was a little sandwich. It was like corporate, food, corporate, because I started off, have my degree, my undergraduate degree from the University of Southern California. Fight on. And so I started off in that world with that mentality. And I entered into the culinary world with a business mentality and the food mentality. So the transition back and forth was actually, it was almost like I was watching it prepare me for each next stage, because I needed the hands-on experience to get that tangible, like, oh, this is what life is really like, and this is what creation feels like. When I'm creating something with my hands, I'm transmitting that love, that joy, that awesome feeling to someone else. Then I can also do that and help other people do that and grow my empire while doing it. Like, it's kind of all fit in there together. So for me, it was a little bit of a natural progression, almost just like filling in the puzzle pieces of the things that I was going to need to know to reach my more ultimate levels of potential.
And you said that in your business, you do a lot of work with catering companies and wedding planners and things like that. So you haven't sort of completely divorced yourself of your love of food and whatnot. You're sort of mixing these 2 skills together in a way.
Oh, most definitely. So my bread and butter clients are mostly wedding planners now. And I do work with caterers. I also work with like hair care products and I have a faith-based t-shirt client right now. So it's a wide range, but I most definitely could never totally get away from those who help other people celebrate the biggest moments of their lives. That's just so cool to me when you are able to have that much of a pivotal role in someone else's story. I love that.
No, I think that's great. And that's a lot of what we'd like to talk about on this show. So when you're doing your work, sort of what really brings you the most joy and what really brings you the most frustration in your working world?
Well, the problem often with people who are led from a heart-centered place or led by pure talent or passion is that they have zero idea how to make money doing it.
That's very true. That is very true.
They're like, I plan some weddings, or I'm really good at doing hair, but I actually don't know how to build an empire. But they all have this empire building goal in their heart. There's just an extreme disconnect. So
Yes.
my favorite part is being able to take what's in their brain, show them a better pathway, and also clarify their message. I'm a StoryBrand certified guide as well. So that's one of the heavy things that I do. I'm really into strategy and copywriting. So I'm like, tell me what's in your head. Tell me who you want to talk to. Tell me who you want to serve. Now let's put that on paper so you actually are talking to them. Because often they'll say things like, I'm a luxury wedding planner. And I'll look at their website. I'm like, not according to your website, you're not.
Yeah,
Like,
that's very good point. Very good point, right?
so it has to match. I like being the matchmaker, that idea matchmaker between who you think you are and how you present yourself and the words and the images that you use to the world. And the things that I hate doing are the things that I now outsource. So
well, that's an important skill, right? Is learning how to outsource the things that you don't love or aren't very good at.
Absolutely. There's a book called Rocket Fuel by Wickman that's all about the integrator visionary relationship.
Yeah.
I am a visionary. I can do integrator work, but I don't like to. So some of the things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I will start the client, I will do the strategy, I'll do the copywriting, but working at all of the processes between my writers, making sure that all of the forms are in the right folders, all of those types of things were something I outsourced very early on so that I could stay within my zone of genius. It was a little bit of a I don't want to do this kind of feeling, but it was also I could make a whole lot more money if I don't do this. So if I stay in doing what I do really well, then I can bring in those clients who are attracted to what I do really well, and I have somebody else integrate the pieces for me. So if I had to say there was one thing I didn't like doing, that would be it. But I have two amazing people on my team that help me with all of that stuff. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So are you one of these people that finds it hard to like let go of control? You know, that you're very detail oriented and other people can do it, but nobody can do it quite as well as you can. You know, this kind of, I'm very much that way.
I don't know why you're trying to be all in my business like that. You don't
that's
know.
that's what this show is all about. I'm going to get in your business.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe.
Okay. There you go.
Maybe.
See, wasn't that
That's
cathartic just to release that? You released it to the universe and now it's better. It's out there.
And now it's better. It really is better. But what I will say is because I have that strategy arm, I didn't just say, oh, have at it. I have some pretty detailed instructions that I gave in the beginning and the processes and the steps. Because for me, it's not about, oh, are you doing it the exact way I want to do it? It's more about like, here's the process. Let's do it once. Then you tell me what needs to be fixed. But this is the way that I know that it works so that I'm not dipping in client care or the quality of the product. Because my company is called Flourish Marketing, but because I talk all the time to all the people come to my company for me. So my name is on everything. So when you outsource things, you have to outsource it in a smart way so that you're not embarrassed by the product that comes out with your name on it. So yes, there was a bit of an issue, but I think working in the corporate world also helped me realize the power of delegation, because there's no way I was head of marketing. There's no way I did all the marketing for North America by myself. The same way here. That's also one of the difference between, if you do some introspection, the difference between an entrepreneur and a hobbyist that happens to make money at their hobby. If you are an entrepreneur, you are thinking about what are the systems and structures and processes I need to implement to actually grow, to make an empire, to build a foundation, to consider my legacy several generations down the pike, not how am I going to pay rent this month?
Yes. Because
if you're just thinking about how you're going to pay rent this month, you'll always only be thinking about that, and you will continue to struggle, and you'll end up back at your cubicle in your 9 to 5 thinking you failed. And I don't want that for any entrepreneur. So you have to start thinking of, how can I delegate? What do I actually need to do? What are the key priorities in my business that I need to take care of that no one else can do, that makes that secret sauce? And everything else, honey, you are not that unique. Everybody needs a filing system. Everybody needs to schedule their stuff on Instagram. It is not that unique, but there are people who specialize in that can help you.
No, I'm such a believer in that. You get the people in who are experts in whatever field they are, or can be an expert in a certain task or assignment. You bring those people in. But, this is the old argument of, are you an owner or are you an operator? And you certainly, as a business owner, are in a much better place if you can be an owner rather than an operator. There's just too much out there. So before we leave the topic of work, just tell people a little bit more about what StoryBrand is and what that certification means, because I personally am a huge believer in brands building a strong story for their brand and then the messaging around that. So talk a little bit more about that. I think that's an important thing.
Absolutely. So Building a Story Brand is a book written by a man named Donald Miller that takes the way that you think about messaging and helps you put yourself in the shoes of your client so that the messaging actually speaks to your client. Often people are a little bit egotistical when they're marketing. You talk all about yourself, all the things you do, all the fabulousness that you are, and truthfully, no one cares. When I'm sitting Googling something, I'm Googling how to solve a problem that I have. And if you are not overtly telling me, this is the problem that I solve for you, this is how I solve it, this is how I make your life better, this is how I help you survive and thrive, as Donald Miller would say, then you're not actually marketing. You are just kind of having a journal entry out there. It's just kind of like you're just writing it out yourself. So StoryBrand helps you with a 7-part framework to take your entire business messaging, whether it's on your website, whether it's in your social or your email, and use it to convert more customers more effectively. There are kind of 3 books in the series. There's a Building a Story Brand, which is the first one, Marketing Made Simple, which teaches stronger implementation of the framework, and then the newest one that just came out last week, which is called Business Made Simple, which is how to run an effective business and be a value-adding professional.
Yeah, I can't recommend those books enough. I think it's really important for people to understand how to build a good story, and obviously bring in professionals like yourself and me as well to do those sorts of exercises with them. So I want to pivot a little bit here because this is the work-life show. So we talk about work, and now we get to talk about the fun things. Talk to me about Japanese whiskey.
Oh, so I've realized that it's not a drinking problem if you actually are talking about like the notes of the whiskey. Because man, my whiskey bar has grown over the pandemic. Let me tell you.
Yeah, yours and mine both. Let me tell you. I'm more of a bourbon guy, but my whiskey selection, I've got some nice scotches there, some nice, good whiskeys.
Japanese whiskey gets that Scotch similarity, get that that Scotch feeling, made in a similar method. But I am a huge Japanese whiskey fan.
It's
my
so
favorite right now
right?
is actually a nice kind of like lower tier one called Kokori, because it's distilled from rice. So it has this sweet, soft, florally. It's a little bit dangerous because it's so easy drinking.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, wait, let me stop pouring the bottle. But that's where I'm at right now with my Japanese whiskey.
No, it's so true. Some of those Japanese whiskeys are so incredibly smooth, it really doesn't taste like you're drinking all that much, which can be trouble. Whereas, some of these bourbons will put hair on your chest. Now, that might not be good for you, but if that starts happening, that's a real problem, let me tell you. But, it is, it's a great thing. It's like wine enthusiasts and, just their love of exploring wine and trying all these different regions, these different grapes, these different blends. The whole whiskey scene is so interesting because they're so flavorful and also very different. It's a fun sort of beverage to explore and learn a little bit more. Now, did you come to this because of your cooking background, or was just something you just picked up as more of a socialization thing?
I've always been had a preference for darker alcohol. And my father, when I was younger, like 12, would show me how to pick out a good whiskey and a good cigar. I didn't go ahead drinking and smoking sessions with my father.
I was just going to check on here. We might need to put some disclaimers on this episode. Yeah, that's right.
But it was like he was into the finer things of life, right? So it was like he would show me like what a good cigar should be, what a good whiskey should be, what a good watch should look like, what you should look for in a car, all of those types of things. So I think that kind of got embedded in me very early, and that it was okay to be really into something, because
Mm.
like it was okay to be really into whiskey or not, and people would be like, oh, or really into wine, or having an affinity for something that other people might not be into or think you're a lush, which I promise I am not. So that just kind of grew, but it wasn't like a steady trajectory. I remember I was in college and I was dating this guy, and he took me out. I was so excited. I think it was like our first or second date, something like that. And he asked me, what are you drinking? And I said, oh, I want a rum and Coke. That was my drink.
Sure.
I thought it was pretty cool. I thought I was doing pretty good, rum and Coke.
Sure.
I even knew what kind of rum I wanted. So I was like, oh, but not
Sure.
well rum, right?
Oh, okay.
I was,
you want some fancy stuff.
Fancy. And he looked at me and he said, you are too pretty and too smart to order rum and Coke. That is not your drink. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, he was a little older than I was. And he goes, he sighed. I remember the deep sigh. He goes, we're going to get you on something that is worthy of your status. And I was like, first of all, I don't know what that means, but thank you that you think so highly of me. And then it just got me thinking about that there was more out there in the world of whiskey. And then I started exploring, and a really cool way to explore it is this company called Flaviar.
Okay.
It's a whiskey club, I guess,
Sure.
lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But every quarter you can pick out a tasting box, and they send you 3 different types of whatever. You can pick out what you're going to taste, and in these little vials. And they give you the notes, and they give you a little free coaster, and then you can taste and compare and contrast, and you start building up your flavor profile of what you like. Because that's one thing that I've noticed about any type of, whether it's whiskey or wine, that you don't have to like what everybody says you're supposed to like.
No.
Because I'm a woman. Most people say I'm not supposed to drink whiskey in the first place, let alone be that into it. Like, stick to your Chardonnay, girl. Like, no.
Right.
That's not me.
Not for me.
Not for me. But this way you get to form your own palate and explore. That's how I really got into Japanese whiskey, because I started trying one, then another. I was like, oh no, this is a thing. I like the distillation process. I like the flavor profiles. I like the delicacy of the way that they combined their flavor, and they balance alcohol levels, all of it. I'm a big fan.
I love that, because I think what you're really describing, whether you're talking about your business life or your personal life and the things that you enjoy, your hobbies, your passions, whatever it is that the more you can learn about something, the more you can get into the weeds, the more fun it becomes, and the more expertise you truly develop. And that may sound, like common sense, but I think there are so many people, especially in this day and age, right, who confuse their opinions for facts. And I don't think that they even fully understand how much they have been moved by marketing messages, marketing imagery. We're marketing people. We're all powerful. We control what people think. So I don't think.
So let me whip out a good psychological trigger in my marketing messaging. I will hook you. You will.
Yeah, that's right. And I think about some of the things that I've purchased for the first time. And then I just naturally go back to that, because now all of a sudden I've got an affinity because I made a purchase decision. So now that must be a better choice than something else that I didn't buy the first time.
Right.
And it really takes some time to break yourself of those habits and say, okay, I want to learn more. I want to try new things. I want to experiment. I want to see what I might be missing if I move around. So I think that's a great lesson, not only for things in your personal life, but things in your business life as well. As we sort of get to our third topic on the show, I love to talk about balance. So the whole idea behind this show is we want to have thriving professional lives, right? But we also want to have exciting and fulfilling personal lives as well. And I think the glue that binds those together is really finding balance, finding passion, finding purpose in what you do. So when you sort of look at where you are today in your life, where are you finding that passion? Where are you finding that purpose in what you do, both professionally and personally?
That's a really great question, especially because I am a little type A. And it's very easy for me to sit down at my computer and not move for 8 hours and just have at it. And what happens then is, yeah, you might crank out some great work, but you're also depleting your creativity reserves. No matter what business you're in, creativity is a requirement because you have to develop something from scratch. As an entrepreneur, that's what you're doing. That's the kind of like the whole thing. If you weren't doing that, you'd be sitting at a desk somewhere working for somebody else, having someone tell you what to do. But when you sit there and you're depleting your creativity reserves slowly and sometimes quickly, I've started noticing like my ability to help my clients it was like so much more effort to come up with that good idea for you, so much more effort to write that copy because I wasn't balanced in my life. So I think it's great not only to find balance, but also to realize your own red flags in your life and what that looks like, because often they're cyclical. So when I find myself struggling to come up with an idea, or when I find myself blocked as a writer, as a copywriter, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? What have I not done? And 9 times out of 10 for me, I have not replaced that creativity reserve. So I need to get my little booty up off my desk chair and go find some inspiration. Now, this does not mean I need to go like watch the hummingbirds fly. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I need to go read a book. I need to go talk to my husband. I might need to go work out. I need to shake myself up. I might need to go on Clubhouse, which is like my new favorite jam, and go into a room that has nothing to do with what I do, just to get some different input. Even meditation, I try to meditate twice a day, in the morning and the evening.
Good for you. Good for you.
And but I know that was another kind of like, it's a good thing, but also I know there's a red flag in there. If I cannot sit down, first of all, I don't force it. I get up and I move around and I make it work, because you have to keep replenishing yourself. And sometimes you just need a nap.
You do. That's right. And that's okay.
You just need a nap. One of my favorite things, though, is my husband and I were watching the Netflix show Bridgerton. Have you seen that show?
Yeah.
Love that show. 1, because I'm a pretty big Shonda Rhimes fan. 2, because it put Black people in a period piece. And 3, the costuming was amazing. And the story made you feel a little bit like you're watching like an old school reality show. But
it's like really a romance novel. Yeah.
Right. But when what they would do, if you haven't seen Bridgerton, they do this in a lot of period pieces. They'll go promenading, which is actually where, going to prom comes from. And you would just go walking and you would talk. My husband and I both work from home. We're on opposite sides of the house. So, but there will be times where I'm like, but I haven't seen him for like 10 hours. Or heard of him or what. I'm like, literally, he's right there. So during the middle of the day, we'll go out. We live in Southern California. So if you're like in like Buffalo, I'm sorry, this is probably not as relevant for you right now.
Might not be good.
We'll go out and we promenade. And we say we're going to go promenading. We make sure that we either drive to a park, we sit there, we lock arms, and we walk around and we talk. And that is my favorite way of achieving balance and finding the reinvigoration of my passion, and otherwise the job starts to feel like a job and not something that I really love to do.
I think that's great. And, we are in a strange time when we've all been working from home so much. It's easy, like you said, to just be sitting for 8 hours a day. There is something really nice about getting outside, just soaking in a little bit of fresh air, and then coming back and having that whiskey. So there is something that's really good about that in terms of kind of resetting yourself. And I love the meditation and the naps too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't. And by the way, I'm on Clubhouse as well. So it's new. I just got on there. I'm kind of playing around with it for the first time, but it seems like a really interesting concept, and I'm excited to explore it further. So as we're sort of wrapping up here, I want to give you the full screen here and just let you tell people where they can find you, both online, on all these various social channels. And if there's anything specifically that you want to point them to, we'd love to give you the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. So you can find, first of all, you can find me on Clubhouse at Aleya Harris. You can also find my business, Flourish Marketing, at flourishmarketing.co. We help passionate empire builders get and keep a consistent stream of clients. Follow me on Instagram at Aleya Harris, at flourishmarketing.co, or at the Social Media Pantry, because we also create custom social media done for you and done with you services. You can find me on LinkedIn and all of that lovely stuff too, but Instagram is probably your best bet. If you want some free resources on how to grow your business, feel free to head over to flourishmarketing.co, not .com, .co/freebies, and you can get some awesome resources there, like how to create a highly converting website, what are the top things that you need to do now to get marketing implemented in your business, and some social media tips and tricks while you're at it. flourishmarketing.co/freebies.
I love that. I'll make sure that we have all that linked up in the show notes so that people can find you. I've loved this interview. It's fun. And by the way, do you know the Donnie Iris song with your name?
Wait,
Aleya?
what?
Really?
No.
Yeah. Oh, see, I can't play it because, of course, then YouTube will flag it as a copyright violation. But I'll send it to you after. Yeah, you're famous. It's an old song from the 80s.
Okay, I'm in. Yeah, you gotta send it to me because that was always my thing growing up. My name was never in songs.
Yeah, that's right. It's there and it's actually pronounced right. So that's great. I'm so glad we could have this chat today. It's fun. I love hearing about your story. It sounds like you're doing some very interesting things over there at Flourish Marketing. Hope people will go to your website and check it out. And just thanks so much for taking the time and talking a little bit about work life with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Thanks again.